Hey guys, it's Mr. Stewart. This is week 8, and this will be your CRJ 160 integrity video for this week. This week you've been asked to read a couple chapters that kind of go hand in hand with each other. One of them is about homeland security and terrorism, and the other one is about securing the infrastructure. These two chapters do kind of go hand in hand, and it's been since 9/11 that we've really begun to focus on homeland security, anti-terrorism, and infrastructure security from the private security perspective. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm not going to reference some specific things necessarily in your text, because you can read your text and you can look at the PowerPoint, but I want to kind of give you my feelings on private security in regard to kind of this venue, and then I'm going to talk about your research papers that are going to be due here at the end of the month. So first of all, I want to talk about homeland security and anti-terrorism. You know, understand that private security prior to 9/11 was really kind of tasked with physical security. Honestly, I mean, if you were a Department of Defense contractor, yes, you did information security at that point. You did physical security. You had procedures. There's been not a lot of changes in regard to DoD contractors, but for the general private security field, there has been a lot of changes since 9/11. Because prior to that day, typically you had retired persons or young people who were just starting out in a career get a job in private security, and we'd put them on a gate, and they would control access to a facility. Or we'd put them inside the facility, and they'd walk around, maybe in the nighttime, hence the term night watchman. And they would keep a log as to, hey, I checked this door, checked that door, nothing seen out of the ordinary, everything's just fine. It was basically having a warm body to make sure things were right and things were okay. Since 9/11, we saw a definite movement toward not only having that what I would call a personnel assets available, but proper training, and a little bit difference in the focus of private security, because we've seen the focus move from simply physical security, but kind of to overall security. Because since 9/11, we've kind of taken it upon ourselves as citizens to understand that it's everybody's responsibility to try to keep our country safe. We weren't expecting to be hit by a terrorist organization on September 11, 2001, the way we were. And it was originally set for three different locations. If it wasn't for those brave people that put the plane down in the Pennsylvania field, we would have had 2 different terror sites at that point instead of 3 different terror sites instead of 2. So with that being said, really at that time in the World Trade Centers, there was there was some police station there, but the building was not necessarily as secure as it could have been. Our borders were not secure at that point. I guess we could argue right now that our borders are also not secure either, with the influx of illegal immigrants coming into our country from along our southern border now. But we've tried to see and make changes in regard to a lot of those things since 9/11. So it's really become part of the purview of private security to move into assisting with homeland security, because the police can't be everywhere, and the police are not going to be able to spend their publicly earned dollars watching privately held facilities. So therefore, that creates a niche for private security to come in and secure those private facilities, while the police officers, which are public employees, are keeping the public safe by doing whatever they need to do out there on the street. And because of that, private security has really kind of jumped into securing the infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, we're not just talking about privately held facilities like manufacturing plants. We're talking about water systems. We're talking about food production. We're talking about gun manufacturers. We're talking about almost anything you can imagine, power plants, our waterways, everything that bridges and such, tunnels, everything that if it were to receive a hit would cause a lot of problem for us. I mean, think about the World Trade Centers. The terrorists believe that if they hit and knock down the World Trade Centers, that it would bring our economy to its knees. And it did for about a week. After about a week, we picked up the pieces and moved on. We realized how serious and necessary it was to get back into the game. And so even though we had a black eye and our nose was bleeding, so to speak, we jumped back in that game in the world economy. And of course, everything was fine until 2008, when the real estate bubble burst. But private security is also tasked with being able to help gather information for the police as well, as part of kind of under the USA Patriot Act, which, interestingly enough, I believe is unconstitutional. Because it erodes our individual rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution for the sake of being able to sleep warm and fuzzy in our beds at night. We probably take for granted just how good we have it. Think about the people in Israel right now. 90% of the population of that country are running for their lives 24 hours a day, 7 days a week right now because of the terrorist attacks that the Palestinians and Hamas are attacking them from Gaza. And if you're not familiar with that, you need to be watching the news because that's and Israel is trying really hard not to kill innocent people, but they're going to defend themselves, and I think they have every right to defend themselves. But the Patriot Act here in this country really does erode our constitutional rights. In order for us to not be in the same position that Israel is. Now, I guess it's kind of 6-1, half a dozen the other, as to whether or not you think you want your constitutional rights eroded in order to sleep warm and fuzzy and safe at night, or whether you would rather have an element of danger and uncertainty and still have individual freedoms. I don't know, and I don't want to get in a debate on here about that, but I'm just telling you my heart. And unfortunately, I'm probably with the minority at this point because I would side with the Constitution, because I mean it's there. It's what the law is. But I guess that's really a discussion for a different day. But just understand, if you will, that there's a definite connection between what's happened since 9/11 and where we are in private security today, and it's really kind of articulated pretty well throughout those two chapters. So please read those two chapters. And if you have problems, questions, or concerns with the material, please send me a course message or mention something in the discussion boards, and we'll try to get you an answer. I'm going to switch gears here just a minute and talk about the research paper. I posted a fairly lengthy announcement yesterday. I don't know how many of you are reading the announcements, but most of you, I think, are playing the Tegrity videos. So I just want to give you the heads up and some tips for success on the research paper. The research paper should not be a book report, guys. It just should not be. That's something you do in 8th grade. A research paper is exactly that. You come up with a central thesis. And a thesis is simply a question or a statement where you're making a claim, and then you're going to use your research to back up what your claim is. The example I gave in the announcements was, maybe you say, off-duty police officers make excellent security guards, security professionals. You're making a bold, broad stroke statement, and that's fine. Just be prepared to back it up and use multiple reference sources to back up whatever your claim is. Or maybe you even go the opposite way. Maybe you say off-duty police officers make terrible security professionals. And then you give me the facts and the circumstances, examples to back that up from multiple sources. Make sure that you're using multiple reference sources for the research paper. .edus, .govs are good. .orgs are okay. Try to stay away from .coms and .nets because, typically anything that has advertising on it, a website that has advertising on it, is probably not a peer-reviewed source. What I'm looking for are peer-reviewed sources. A good one to go to is Google Scholar. That will give you lots of peer-reviewed sources. If you go to Google, upper right-hand corner, there should be a little square, a little block that looks like 4 squares, or it will say more, depending upon what version of the browser you're looking at. Click on that, and then it may not show it there, but you may have to click even more from Google, and you go down until you get to Google Scholar. It's a little black icon. It's kind of a round gear-looking thing. Click on Google Scholar. When you get to that point, make sure that you are you click off patents, and make sure that you do have clicked on articles. And then type in whatever your subject is. And you may have to use more than one search term. It will pop up a list of documents, and it will have off to the right PDF available from wherever, if you have access to that particular document. Those are excellent sources for research paper topics. And the topic is up to you. You can choose whatever topic you want, as long as you come up with a thesis that makes a claim. This really is a persuasive essay, and you're using your research to persuade an audience to come around to your way of thinking. Again, I don't want it to be a book report. You may have to add some facts in there for background. That's okay. But it should not just be a report. This should be a persuasive research essay or research paper where you're actually trying to sway someone using the research that you have conducted. I put that in the announcements. It is now part of the course. That is the course requirement. If you don't do that, points will be deducted. It does need to be about, I'd say, 1,000 words. That will be about 3 pages of body of text. Make sure that you have a title page, properly formatted APA reference page, and in the body of the text that you are using in-text citations. There is a sample paper and an APA template under the research paper tab to your left, to the left side of your screen. Those are out there for you to look at. You can see a paper that was written in the proper format, and then you have a template that will help you get there. So I don't know what else to do other than to tell you to use those tools, and then this is a learning process too. I don't expect a perfect paper, but I expect you to try to meet the requirements. It needs to be Times New Roman, 12-point font, and approaching about 1,000 words. Topic is of your choosing. It should make a claim that you're able to back up with your research. Other than that, everything else is up to you as far as the content goes. Also, stay away from direct quotations. Just don't use them. Paraphrase it and cite it. When in doubt, cite. I have gotten a 3-page paper with 2 in-text citations before. I've also gotten a 3-page paper with 1,200 in-text citations. If you're only citing other people's work, there's not your own original thoughts and ideas. If there are no citations, you're not backing up your thoughts and ideas. So I can't tell you exactly how many in-text citations to have. You need to have enough, but you also don't need to go overboard, because then it's still not your work. You're just restating somebody else's work. So make sure it's your thoughts, your ideas, your language, your sentences, and then back up your thoughts and ideas with the reference sources. Should see a minimum of 3 sources in order to avoid bias. I'd like to see more than that. Typically, about a 3-page paper, you should probably have about 6 sources, honestly. Again, I don't expect perfection, but I expect effort. If you have questions, problems, or concerns in regard to that research paper, please reach out to me. I'll be here for you. And I'll see you in the integrity lesson for next week. Bye-bye, guys.